Where's my blast off? He's off to the Lulags, baby. That's what I'm talking about. You know what? I'm gonna use that as a blast off. Yeah, in honor of the Bolsonaro arrest, I'm changing the blast off meme to the Lulag meme. Is there any shot for the 32-hour work bill? Dude, come on. Come on, dude. We live in the United States of America, bro. You're asking a question that's so insane to me. Like, what do you mean? It's literally the same energy as being like, hey man, is there any shot that we'll get Medicare for all this year? Just coming in. Like, not to destroy your hopes and dreams or whatever, but like, you know, I sometimes I gotta give you a reality check. Crystal Ball with a brilliant new breaking points on segment on Norm dog walking Botticelli. SCOTUS decides to keep racist texts. Show me your papers law. Bolsonaro for prison. Zizek versus Piers Morgan. Trump is broke. Elon v. Don Lemon and more. BB No Molina building later to cook up beats. Get in now. Twitch.tv/Hasanabi. Let the people know. Let your enemies know. Part of the most recent debate where Mr. Boner Jello is still being fucking Islamophobic dumbass, but gets dog walked nonetheless. Yeah, I have that on the docket as well. Mr. Boner Cello, I thought, already took enough of the smoke. Mr. Bonarelli, I thought he like already got ass blasted into, you know, smithereens, that he would just like be at least like somewhat embarrassed to try and do this kind of thing ever again. But it turns out he's got more. He's got more interest. He's got more smoke. And the funny thing about it is that Mr. Ravioli, I think, thought that he would have like a tune-up fight. You know what a tune-up fight is, right? We talked about it before, like where after a fighter, like after a prize fighter loses like a title fight, they go back and like pounce on some dude who's like much weaker so that they can rebuild their confidence. And I think he's like desperately flinging for that tune-up fight. So he went after Nathan Robinson, thinking like, well, okay, Nathan is a bit of a goober. We can't tell what his accent is. Maybe he's like easy to fucking destroy. And it seems like he still got fucking owned. I think he's going, is the Sean King thing real? I think he's going to try and debate Sean King. And I feel like that's the final stage. Like if Sean King bodies Mr. Bonercelli, he should just, you know, he should just stop. He should quit. I mean, I don't know if it's real or not, but I'm just saying if it was real and Sean King somehow still managed to cook him, I feel like it's Jover. It's just the most Jover it's ever been. Okay, best part of yesterday's stream, hands down. Oh yeah, Kaya jumped on me
softly, and no one could hear me, so I thought I was muted.
You just have to make sure the disc.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm gonna take a walk. She gets this way. She gets this way when like she's just bored. She's such a big baby, dude. She gets this way when like it's the end of the day at this point, and she's like, "Come on, dude! Like, the are you still streaming?" And yesterday I did like an 11-hour stream, so it does make sense. Like she was perfectly valid. I have so much secondhand embarrassment watching D. Who is this guy? How does he have enough clout to be included in these debates? What are his credentials, degrees? He has none of that. He's just like known as a debater. That's it. And I think when you're known as a debater, or known as like a good debater, I guess, quote unquote, because you've done enough of these like debates, you know, there are people who think that you will bring in eyeballs to the subject, to the issue.
Oh my god.
He's known for farming your favorite streamer, and I don't just mean here. Yeah. It's not even just me. Yeah. He's like big drama pervert too. He basically tries to intellectualize what Keemstar does. And he doesn't really do a good job of intellectualizing it at all, but it doesn't really matter because like a lot of people want to feel smart. So I think he gives them that. He gives them like Keemstar, but for the most annoying type of person, like a Reddit debater. He's Keemstar for those who spend a shit ton of time on Reddit and are like, you know, they have like 1 million sock accounts. They're farming karma all the goddamn time. That's what it is. He is the dumb person's idea of a smart person. Sure.
sure that that I'm on your on your Discord. I gotta mute Andre.
He's out of the
Holy
room.
shit, he's gone. All right, you just have to make sure that I'm coming into your Discord.
Oh, yeah, here, this is a great take. A permanent take. I would personally never debate Nathan Robinson because it would be too humiliating to lose and then see him ride off on a unicycle or whatever. Yeah. But like Nathan has like totally vindicated himself, I think. There was a lot of stuff in his background that like left Twitter yelled at him about. But I think he's like he's on to good graces now. Like he's kind of kept it very stable, and I have a lot of respect for people like that who just like in spite of everything else you know is never straying away from whatever their beliefs are. It's unshakable, and they are just always going to be the exact same person no matter what. Okay? This is Nathan Robinson up top here. He is the editor-in-chief of Current Affairs, not Current Affairs. Was it Current Affairs? Yeah, editor-in-chief of Current Affairs magazine. He's a really funny dude. He's kind of quirked up. I think I've interviewed him before. And everybody on like left Twitter hates him or used to hate him and dunk on him because I think there was like some unionization drama or something at his magazine. I can't really remember. And I found out my brother watches Destiny. He's convinced you're actually racist to Italians. That community is awful. Bro, that's an insane thing to think. Like, get your brother to be, like, unironically say that in public. Just to ask someone, like, can you be racist to Italians? Anyway, whatever. Everybody's, like, mad. Everyone was mad at him, but I respect him for not changing his ways after everybody dunked on him.
Your analysis of the failures is the Palestinians walked away, the Palestinians turned to violence, all they do is fight, right? This is a one-sided narrative.
It's true.
Right?
The
This is
inception of the
hugely
Palestinian
one-sided
movement
narrative.
has been one of violence. The PLO started from guerrilla fighters. The PLO have been all about violence since their inception.
Both parties here are violent parties.
Yes, but only one has been forced to contend with political realities on the ground, and that's Israel. That's why Israel, you can say they're violent, but they formed peace with partners that they thought they never would form peace with.
Zionism is ultimately a movement based on conquest and dispossession.
And Islam isn't? What's a caliphate? What was the Ottoman Empire?
What's a caliphate? What was the Ottoman Empire? Bro, there is no way this dude just compared a nationalist movement that was also under the Ottoman Empire as a separate entity, still trying to form a nation statehood, as the same exact thing. It's insane. Palestinians literally lived under the Ottoman Empire. Some Palestinians unironically also aligned with the British, thinking that the British would offer them statehood away from the Ottoman Empire. What kind of idiotic nonsense is this? Why are there so many people that think that this person is a authority on the subject matter? I am losing my mind. It literally, like, I don't understand how people think he is like even remotely knowledgeable on the subject matter. It is so incredible. What is the caliphate? What is the Ottoman Empire? Is so like irrelevant unless you are literally talking about Palestinian nation statehood and the historic reasons as to why they were not able to have a nation state. Oh, clearly looking at his nose off screen because he learned about this shit yesterday. The fuck does a caliphate have to do with Palestine, man? That's so dumb.
I'm not denying the violence of the Ottoman Empire. Why would I? Why would
we talk about the intrinsic territorial conquest nature of Zionism when Zionists, Israel, have given back land and territory to other countries, but then ignore it? There's no reason.
They're a major party to this because it's the conflict that we're talking about.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense to say that
you're describing one side as using violence.
Dude, you can't get owned by a dude dressed up like this, okay? All I'm going to say is when you get owned by a dude dressed up like that, you're so cooked. Like, his walls are red, dude. These are deliberate choices he made, both in his own personal style and also in the way that he's doing interior design. And you're getting dog walked by a dude like this is fucked
to
up.
achieve its goals.
Yes.
Right? But
Correct.
you are ignoring all of the violence on the other side.
Because I think that the
And
Israeli
that's
side.
precisely what happens in
I
the,
think
in the
no,
Israeli
because
narrative.
you're
This is
no.
always what
What's
happens,
happening
right?
is the
Israel
two
provides
sidesing you're
a
doing right
backlash,
now.
Then there's a backlash, and then you say, and they only look at the backlash.
Did Israel
Right?
accept
And
the?
there's this
Wait, hold on.
cycle
Well,
of
let's just
violence, where
okay.
you look
Cycle
at one
months.
side of the cycle of violence.
In 36, did Israel accept the Peel Commission that partition was necessary and the land would need to be split?
Yeah, which with, by the way, a provision to kick a bunch of the Arabs out of the proposed partition.
Because the Brits had
proposed
said that it
state.
seemed like it was an unworkable thing, right?
Well, there you go, right? It would have involved violence.
It would have involved transfer of people off of property, not necessarily violence.
Yeah, dude. Transfer of people off of property, not necessarily violence, is pretty cool.
Your
So
analysis of the
rent free in the mind. Yeah. Okay. He shaved because everyone roasted his patchy beard. I mean, it still looks like shit, but that's totally irrelevant. What's wild is he knows nothing. He picked a side and started studying to defend his racism. Yeah. The only firmly held conviction that this Mr. Bonicello has is literally just that he thinks Muslims are like barbarian monsters. And he also knows that he can't like openly say it to that degree, so he can just mask it under classic like 2014 era Reddit atheism, which definitely does work, right? How tall is Nate Robinson? Okay, dude. Come on, stop. He's the dark side Phil of politics now. The goatee makes it. D talks about you 1,000 times a day. Haha, awesome. You talk about D1s today. D1s rent free. No, I mean, it's I made a deliberate choice not to talk about him for like 4 or 5 years. And part of it was because like it was an irrelevant aberration and an irrelevant tumor for the most part. But obviously when he's like debating Norm Finkelstein, I'm going to talk about it. But the thing is, why are we watching British Riddler versus Walmart Doctor Strange? I think like equating Zionism to like an entire religion is so insane, because Zionism is not Judaism, and that is a false association that is inherently anti-Semitic in my opinion. The only difference is people don't read it as anti-Semitic if they're pro-Israel, so they think like, no, you don't understand. Like, this is what the religion is about, which is insane. And I feel like I'm going further and further insane the more people openly advocate for it, not realizing how it comes across. You are breeding anti-Semitism by making this association on behalf of Israel. It is inherently anti-Semitic to be like, all Jews only care about Israel and Israel only, and only Israel can defend Jews. Israel is the safest place for Jews, even though it's always also constantly in conflict due to, you know, a number of different reasons. But also, like, every time a Palestinian child is lasered by the Israeli state, actually every Jew loves that. That's crazy. That's a crazy thing to say. Can you imagine a world where people are running around in the Western world, okay, and going, ISIS is awesome, and all Muslims love ISIS, and Islam is perfectly represented by ISIS? It would be insane, okay? Only a couple people in the UK do that, okay? Other than that, every single Muslim all the time is like, no, dog, this shit is crazy. They're killing mostly Muslims. The fuck are you talking about? It's nuts. The only time you hear people falsely equate ISIS to all of Islam are usually Islamophobes, okay? But when it comes to Israel, because of the 75 years of very positive pro-Israel messaging, people are very comfortable about looking at ISIS-style activities and going, nah, that shit is great. And also, all Jews like that. That's crazy. No, of course not all Jews like that. That is an insane thing. Objectively, there are infinitely more Christians that like that than Jews that like that. Okay, I hate it. Yeah, it's like looking at the Westboro Baptist Church or one of those pedo incest Mormon cults and being like, yeah, no, that actually does represent all of Christianity. We love that shit. It's almost like you finally find a topic that will get you to bring him up. This isn't going away anytime soon. You're handling this pretty well. D-reacts are pretty boring, not gonna lie. Yeah, I saw, what is it? Like, from his entire fucking debate, someone was posting it in my, was it in the Discord? I don't know where I fucking saw this shit. It might have been one of my normie friends even fucking bringing this up, but it's like his coverage over his own fucking debate has been like,
those kids weren't just on the beaches as often stated articles. Those kids were literally coming out of a previously identified.
I don't even know where the fuck this is like playing. His coverage over his own goddamn debate has been like relatively, minimal, despite the surrounding, despite the surrounding drama in it. And his like coverage of the debate literally still features like me reacting to it. You know what I mean? Hassan gaslights his own fans, changes story for insane interview, which is so awesome, man. No, you're doing great, man. Seriously. The debate was great, brother. You know, you're definitely not getting cooked everywhere. Keep fucking maintaining the hug box. I'm sure things are going really well. Okay? His coverage has literally been like, have you seen the one time Norm Finkelstein was like really racist? I owned him in the marketplace of ideas because he was raised one time. Yeah, he's still fucking coping, tweeting. Eventually, the tide will change. He started saying people should just not watch it pretty much before it came out after the debate. Yeah. I do think it's funny that this idiot turned my leftist friend into a NATO apology that completely ruined our friendship. Law, fuck D. Yeah. That's not surprising, but you also have to remember, like, there has to be like a lot of energy in that direction from that person. I like that his damage control has basically been tweeting through the pain, trying to maintain the hug box, and smearing his opponents. That's how you know you did a really good job, when you immediately refuse to fucking talk about the actual debate and your own personal performance, and then immediately talk about how like, well, you know, in 1987, this guy was bad or some shit. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. I haven't really looked at it. No analysis on Gaza after debate. Yeah. Guess what, dude? There was no analysis on Gaza from Mr. Bonarcello during the debate either. He basically fucking re-summarized exactly what fucking Benny Morris was saying, and in Benny Morris, in many instances, were completely was completely insane and unhinged as well. You called that there would be an attempted character assassination days before? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Meanwhile, if you want to fucking understand racism, perhaps he should look at his own goddamn debate partner who openly said, "Oh yeah, the fucking person in charge of the UN Human Rights Commissioner, well, they're a Syrian and you can't trust the Syrian." This is what I hate about this entire world of like debate lovers who are so fucking stupid, and they only can hyper focus on like whatever their profit is pointing them in the direction of. There's no consistency. Like, if there was any sort of real consistency, and if we were doing like hypocrisy baiting, for example, Destiny is not allowed to call anyone racist for the rest of his goddamn life. He is literally an out and about racist person. He has been banned from this platform for talking about having white supremacists mow down BLM protesters and also routinely fucking harassing trans content creators and shit. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, I cannot comprehend how the most Islamophobic community online, one of the most Islamophobic communities online, can then turn around and be like, "You're the racist one, actually." And then everybody goes, "You know what? Maybe you're right. These guys are the real racists." This motherfucker wrote a goddamn manifesto to be able to say the N-word after his former friend and co-host at the time was like, "Hey man, I'm black and that's kind of fucked up." And then they followed along with this narrative that like I had planted in the mind of an unironic adult, okay? An actual adult. I was the one who convinced him that it actually that he should feel bad about him saying the N-word. Like, and if they can't fucking gaslight people, they just still continue on with the narrative. It's such a crazy fucking... It is like a community of psychos. I don't know how else to describe it. How goddamn infantilizing to be like, yeah, this adult black man must not have developed his own personal anger or opinion on the matter of his white podcast partner saying the N-word and defending being able to say the N-word. What do you say to people who say it's anti-Semitic to call Israel a settler colonial because England abandoned them, and that it was actually the international jewelry that funded Zionism? International jewelry. Yeah. It's not anti-Semitic to call Israel a settler colonial state because that is its inception. That is how it started. And that's fundamentally how it continued. It's not just that community anymore. It's all the D's orbiter communities as well. Yeah. How do we navigate the very real Jewish identity versus Israel as a pillar of white supremacy in the Middle East? I don't know how to answer this question. The orbiters do a bit of brown nosing. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like, there's literally nothing more lame than putting yourself out there for a dude who doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, objectively so. And it is wild. You're real racist, and Mr. Broccolini's community will make sure you know you are the real racist by calling you a Turkish roach. Yeah, I am the real racist, and that's how you know, because everyone that keeps calling me the real racist is also simultaneously calling me a Turkish roach, Turkish cockroach who needs to go the fuck back to my Islamist fundamentalist roots in whatever Arab nation, insert Arab nation, go back to my own country, go to Yemen and get fucking lasered by fucking the U.S. Navy, you know, all that stuff. I'm Osama bin Laden. Yeah. Hasanabi, Islamic terrorist. As a Mexican, I can safely say, okay, dude, chill. No, there are plenty of fucking cool Cubans here. Islamist Caliphate of New Jersey. Yeah, the Ottoman Empire and the Islamist Caliphate. Okay. All right. Let's get to the actual fucking news. But I guess like in other news, before we get to the actual fucking news, they like to say you're as bad as Alex Jones. Like, come on, man. They also like to say I'm worse than Nick Fuentes, which immediately reveals their position. They say that community says I'm as bad as Alex Jones or worse than Nick Fuentes, and will simultaneously say things like, at least Nick Fuentes puts his money where his mouth is and like legitimately believes the things that he's saying. Hassan doesn't even believe the things that he's saying. And it just like doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, you can only have this position if you literally have no moral backbone, no fundamentals whatsoever, and you're just basically fucking reacting to shapes and colors you see on camera. It's crazy. I've heard the haters call you the Steven Crowder / Ben Shapiro of the left. That too. One of my greatest locks of all time, which like caused a major rift between Destiny and myself, was when I said, you are Ben Shapiro. You literally are Ben Shapiro. You ever think D's gonna show up to your house with a gun? Fuck no. That would require him to fucking leave his house for anything but like, you know, having sex with an influencer that'll ruin his life and mine as well somehow. Even though I shouldn't even fucking ever be brought up ever. Like everything I've fucking learned about Destiny since I completely cut ties has been against my will. Yeah, well, at least Shapiro's honest. No, Shapiro's dishonest too. The only thing Shapiro has an edge on Destiny over is that he still has a wife. Destiny's 0 for 2 at this point. So Isn't calling a white cuck racist? What? A white cuck? What do you mean? Did I say that? What is a white cuck? What's the difference between a white cuck and just saying someone's a cuck? I don't get it. What is happening right now? I'm confused by all the things being thrown in my direction currently, okay? So confused I forgot to run the top of the hour ad break, which I'm running now, by the way. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or free. I saw the Sean Strickland take. All right. Joja Knight, you are going to get banned again. I don't care about the fucking national Latino vote breakdown during the 2020 election. I know, I got it. You're like, I'm a Mexican. I don't like Cubans. Here's why. And you keep trying to fucking send me links. I get it, dude. I got it. Move on from it, okay? Move on from it. Please, drop it, okay? Okay, I'll stop. Yeah. D-fan in the chat. A white man has been here. How do you know? Cuck. What is it? Cuck porn? Anyway, 3-minute ad break. Sean Strickland, gayest shit I've ever seen, and I love bi women, so I've seen a lot of gay. ... Yeah, you're really special. A special little snowflake. This man is the definition of a PC beta male. You all would hate him. Seriously, being in the same room as him makes me cringe. Sean Strickland opens up about his mental health. No, what? Turns out getting fucking slammed in the head. Not great for your mental health, huh?
Yo, what up, guys? Man, all week I've been fucked up, dude. I've been on the Twitter saying crazy shit, just fucking spiraling. I woke up and I told my girl, I was like, babe, I feel like I'm a danger to people. Like, I don't feel like I should be out in the world, And I think that, I have everything. I'm rich, I'm famous, like I have everything I've ever fucking wanted, and I still am mentally unwell. And I get in these like mindsets to where like I want to burn everything down the world. Like I want to have nothing so I could just fucking lose it and just take out everything on people, And I think that like you guys, in a weird way, are like,
I think people just don't understand that, like, dude, there is a chemical imbalance, okay? Like, or serious mental health problems as well. So, like, you gotta get fucking medical help for it. And a lot of people don't understand, online especially, that they think like, well, you're fucking rich. Who gives a shit? Fuck you. You're rich. Suck my dick. And it's like, no, you can still be genuinely very severely mentally ill or have deep clinical depression, okay? Just because you're fucking rich doesn't change that reality. Now, of course, some of the people that do that about mental health is, of course, this fucking dingus. God, I hate famous people. Bro, you're fucking rich. There are kids in the salt mines dying of cancer begging for one more day on this earth, and you're having a mental breakdown on social media. You fucking pussy, okay? Or this other instance, I think, is a little bit better than that one, where he just calls them, you're gay for breaking down and crying. Okay. Yeah. Or your take is that you're weak for taking medication. Exactly. And it just, it's just so dumb. It's so dumb. In many instances, I get where people are coming from. Dude, if you're fucking a 9-to-5er and you see some limp dick ass, spoiled ass rich kid talking about how Twitch streaming is a fucking harder job than their 9-to-5 job, where they're sucking the man's dick every goddamn day, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna be like, fuck you. Okay, fuck you. You're a piece of shit. Fucking kill yourself is what you're gonna think. And I totally understand that. Okay, I've said it from day one. So yes, I'm literally talking about myself, and I'm talking about how people can understandably get fucking mad at shit like this. Okay? It is, however, really silly when someone in a position, someone in a position where they are more likely to be susceptible, or at least more likely to understand why someone can have a fucking mental health episode or break down and show emotion on fucking camera. Like, the hell are you doing? You're just such a pick me and so desperate to be loved that you're literally fucking shitting on a dude in the dumbest, most reactionary way possible. And of course, here it is. Now you're in that. Now the fucking tables have turned, and now everyone's going to shit on you in the same way. You have fostered an environment that is now making it less habitable for you. Therapy and medication might help, but people with mental illness avoid it because they think some cabal wants to control and suppress them. I know. It's so fucked up. I know. And it is pretty crazy that instead of like seeking help, people literally go into. Instead of seeking help, people basically lean into that like right-wing shit. That right-wing hug box that goes, no, King, you're right. And actually, they're controlling you. Okay? Do not seek help.
Family. Like, I've shared some shit with you guys, and you guys have shared some shit with me that, like, I feel more connected with my fans than I think most people feel, just because we've gone through a lot together. And man, you know, I have everything I want, dude, and I still struggle with mental health, you know. And my memory is so short that, like, when I've gone through this week, I think to myself, like, once I get past it, I think
he's like, my memory's so short I forgot I was like shitting on people who do this because I'm a fucking asshole.
Oh man, like, that was a really rough time in my life. But then when I really think about it, this happens multiple times a month, every month, you know. And again, I don't even know.
Dude, there has never been a group of individuals more vindicated than the fucking radfems who constantly talked about toxic masculinity for the entirety of like the year 2016, okay? Sorry, you know, they fucking yell at me all the goddamn time too, but they are so right on this one singular factor as it pertains to toxic masculinity, okay? It is just like, it is a endless sea of L-taking when you're so like fucking hopped up on the understanding, your false understanding of what masculinity is and how to present yourself, that you literally fucking refuse to take the steps necessary. There's no equivalent to this. Like, if you broke your fucking arm, you would have to go to the doctor, right? And the doctor would be like, you have to get a cast. You can't go to the doctor and go like, nah, dog. Like, many people normally wouldn't go, nah, dog, I'm not getting a cast. That's pussy shit, okay? The doctor's like, well, your arm's not going to heal then. Whereas when it comes to like therapy and like actually getting medical help for things that you very clearly have going wrong, people openly are like, nah, dude, I'm different. Like, fuck that shit. It's insane. It's like telling a doctor you're going to tank cancer, you know? But because it's up here, it's different.
I'm telling you guys this. I've just been kind of going through some shit. I'm fine. I'll be fine. I'm going to go train right now and try to hurt all my friends, and all the demons will go away. I just want you guys to know that I have everything I could ever want in the world, and I still struggle. So whatever you guys are going through, man, hope you all feel better. Go to the gym, train. Fucking wish you all the best.
I hate that these guys are basically like destroying my argument that if you go to the gym, you will restore sanity. There is such a thing as too much gym, okay? Especially when gym also equals getting hit in the head. I think this is where gym goes wrong, okay? I like gym. I say go to gym. But maybe too much gym for this guy, okay? Maybe less gym for you, or maybe a different type of gym for you, okay? Go climbing, dog. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're blaming someone like Sean, who is clearly mentally unwell, instead of the social culture of masculinity. Wait, what? No, he is very clearly mentally unwell, and one of the fucking steps that is in, one of the steps that prevents him from getting help is the culture of masculinity. Yes. What do you mean? No, being mentally unwell is a personal failure. I call myself a leftist, by the way. But mental health care is based on general standards of health, and there's a fine line between illness and emotion. For some online, rent is perfectly healing. What? Doesn't the gym feed into the culture of masculinity, though? Like all gym bros have toxic masculinity? Really? Have you ever seen Sam Sulek? Let's take a look. I can't believe you said that.
When I was in like 3rd grade or something, I made fun of a kid for like a Naruto. He was ahead of the game. I had no idea. I didn't come to that realization until much later. Until much freaking later in life.
I mean, myself as well, obviously, like, I love the gym and I love working out. And I don't think that I represent toxic masculinity, which is part of the reason why so many people who don't go to the gym, who don't fucking work out, who are pasty little limp dick Reddit bandits online constantly calling me fucking gay and soy. But, you know, one example doesn't disprove the claim. No, I don't think that gym culture, I don't think that going to the gym is gym culture right now is basically gaming in like 2014. Okay, you just proved my point by showing me this. What? You just watched a guy self-reflect, recognize the error in his ways in real time. And he is like peak gym bro, peak gym culture. Gym guys are famously very happy to help noobs and spread their wisdom. People use bullies from their past as another excuse not to work out. I am right. Yeah, so here's the thing. Just like with gaming culture, the entirety of the fucking gamer space is obviously not filled to the brim with like white supremacist neckbeards. But if you look at it from the outside, because you see the most toxic elements constantly being promoted, you would think that that's the case. This community is a perfect representation that disproves that reality. There are plenty of fucking gamers out there who aren't like that, who are looking for an outlet of like-minded individuals. Okay? And gym culture is the exact same. There are plenty of people, both in this community and also across the board, in the spaces, in these like fitness spaces, that are well-rounded, very confident people, and aren't dipshits. For example, here's a great example of this. Okay, Lean Beef Patty is a good example of this. I would say, obviously, Jeff Nippert is a great example of this. I would go so far as to even say like Bradley Martin in many respects, although he is a gorilla, right? Although he is an ape, he does, and certainly has a lot of things that he says that I disagree with, is still like, especially when it comes to working out, very open-minded and like trying to improve people's conditions. It's true. A lot of gym guys look a certain way, and it causes people to think that like they're going to be scary and they're going to be fucked up and they're going to be bad people. And like, they don't play with that shit at all. As a matter of fact, if someone, I know this 100%, if someone went to zoo culture and was like shitting on like a newbie who is trying to fucking work out and improve their physique or whatever, if Bradley saw that, he would fucking yell at the dude doing that. They don't play with that shit at all. They don't fuck with that at all. They understand that it's a journey. We've all been there. We've all started at a certain point. Like a lot of gym bros are very open-minded and very understanding of people entering that space. I think we just hyper focus on some of the most toxic elements within the gym space and forget about all of the, you're doing it again. One example doesn't disprove the claim. Okay, dude, listen to me. There is no way that we can have this conversation through empirical evidence, okay? We're literally talking about vibes. And I'm telling you, I have personal background in this space. I know that there are toxic elements. I know that there's fucking red pill PUA guys. But you're a fucking idiot if you think that I'm trying to have a debate with you. Oh my God. fuck? It's like I woke something in the minds of everyone, especially old community members that are just like, holy shit. Anyway. Won't almost any gym bro give you a spot if you ask, which isn't toxic at all? Yeah, I mean, there are still plenty of fucking like right-wing forces that infiltrate these spaces, okay? Especially when they like talk about self-improvement, you know? But ultimately, I think the space is very similar to how people perceived like gamers in the Gamergate era. A big part of the reason why I joined Twitch back, I joined Twitch in 2018 was specifically because I knew that I loved video games and I knew that there were plenty of other people that enjoy video games that weren't like Sargon of Akkad fans. Okay? Do you understand? It's just what you see. Look, man, I spotted someone doing bench presses. A drop of my sweat dripped from my nose and landed in his mouth. We didn't speak of it. I will never spot someone again. I'm sorry. Anyway. Says he likes games, never plays them. I do play them. I'm about to finish Yakuza 8, but I'm literally I'm in that point where I just like hold off at like the last 2 chapters basically and refuse to finish the game. But then I get like bored because I've just now really farmed the game for all it's worth. I don't know if you guys do that as well. I edge games and then I get annoyed because I'm edging the game. And then I sometimes end up losing interest in the game and I'm like, why the fuck did I do this to myself? Anyway, I think internet incels proliferate the gym bro misconceptions so they have another reason to complain about their lives. No, a lot of internet incels present a false narrative that like all gym bros believe in the things that they believe in. All right, let's get to Zizek. Zizek talked to Piers Morgan and shocked the world. For those unfamiliar with Zizek's like many Eurocentric takes, this is, of course, not going to be a surprise. If you are familiar with what my main man says about, Ukraine, or what my main man says about like Muslims, or what he says about trans people, anything NATO adjacent, Zizek is going to have the worst possible take on. But let's see. I genuinely don't know what he said. So let's start.
He's a dark, conservative, religious fanatic. That's why to provoke people, as you know, I think I said give even nuclear arms to Ukraine.
Okay, never mind. He's Hasanabi head posting. Never mind. He said, there is a Twitch streamer by the name of Hassan. He says nuclear proliferation is not a problem. It's called the Hasanabi doctrine.
Yeah, well, on that point,
I'm saying.
On that point,
we have to
Slavoj,
do everything.
Yeah, I think it was a terrible mistake for Ukraine to be persuaded to give up their nuclear.
Damn, son. Everyone's talking about the Hasanabi doctrine. We made it, boys. They don't even know it. They don't even know they're talking about it, but they're talking about it, baby. Let's go. We got it. Dude, this is locked up. This is it. Get nukes. Step 1, obtain nukes, baby.
Nuclear capability, because it seemed to me that was just a green light to Putin to then invade them.
We should read what horrors they are saying, Russian media. They have a full return to religious fundamentalism. They portray the war in...
Wait, why are people mad about this take? I thought he was being like fucking... Zizek says there are no less Arabs. They are no less than Arabs. Oh, that's the part that's the part that's like annoying. I think he like compared it to Muslims or Arabs or something, but so far it's not like that crazy of a take.
Ukraine as the war of Christian civilization against demoniac satanism and so on.
Yeah.
I mean, they are no less than Arabs. They are today in the worst sense.
He's so fucking racist, dude. I will say the worst thing I can say about Vladimir Putin. He is an Arab. That is awesome. Oh my God, dude. The worst thing you could say about a guy is that he is no less than an Arab. That's correct. You had no clue he was a racist? Okay, he's Balkan. Okay, come on. He's constantly Balkan posting. Jesus Christ, dude. This is a standard European take. I know. It just sucks when I hear it, regardless. Especially sucks when I hear it from a dude who has, he's a prolific writer, has some pretty solid takes. I literally I lean on some of his analysis when I'm telling you about things, explaining concepts to you. You know what I mean? It's just like weird to hear. Sucks.
Fanatical religious fundamentalists.
Yes.
They have to be.
The first time I heard you talk about Zizek was mentioning how much of a Euro cuck he is. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely bad. Like, I have a nose for that sort of thing, being, from the sick man of Europe country, Turkey, being an Ottoman son. I think I definitely have more of a hair trigger to say when someone is like a pan-European supremacist. Like, I would even go so far as to say sometimes Giannis broaches on that territory, but he's like infinitely better. I wouldn't even consider them on the same. Giannis is actually really good across the board. He's really good. These guys are all DM25 too, which is crazy. No, not Antetokounmpo. I'm talking about not the Greek freak, the other Greek freak, Giannis Varoufakis. I was about to fight you for coming for Varoufakis. No, I think DM25 does have like a little bit of maybe a little bit too much of a pro-European standpoint. But overall, I think Giannis is great. I love Giannis Varoufakis. I have constantly rode for him. I'm going to be having him on the stream soon as well.
Stop unconditionally.
Zizek says they are no less than Arabs. They are fanatical religious fundamentalists. In an attempt to describe Russian mentality on the Ukraine war, he's the softest, removed Netanyahu liberal on the genocide in Gaza too. I'm done with this old guy trying to cling to relevancy with quasi-bombastic quotes. Kill your heroes and so on. Kill your heroes and so on. Good riddance. To think I defended some of his analysis on mass migration when he said that letting in too many migrants too quick would immediately get fascists into power, thinking he was doing astute material analysis. Turns out my boy just didn't want Arabs in the country. Top that off with his obvious shilling depicted in him being radically pro-continuation of this conflict with Russia, the most mainstream accepted opinion on the planet, while rejecting violence and talking about flowers and peace and coexistence when it comes to the active genocide in Gaza, all simply shows he's in it to regain influence and relevancy after being ousted for his "if Trump wins, it will allow the left to grow" in the U.S. take from almost 10 years ago, which, by the way, was correct, but got him completely removed from the limelight. We can now see he obsesses over. Thankfully, work surpasses the slowly degrading mind, soul, and body, and I will always be thankful to the Zizek of old for teaching me, together with Gramsci, about ideology, about the ethics of violence, and much else. But that's it. I'm done with the shell of a man I used to admire. For those of you who don't know, one of my ideology t-shirts literally has a Zizek quote as well. I guess my biggest disappointment is that he's turned into a pop philosopher, a sort of grind set guy who goes on shows to say provocative stuff that can get him on more shows. Capitalism commodified my favorite modern philosopher, lol. I mean, Zizek has sucked for a while. Why are people so dramatic about this? Yeah, I'm gonna make a new Zizek t-shirt. Putin worse than Arabs. You guys know, Hitchens stands at the dude's journey too. Listen. You guys know this. I've talked about this with respect to even Norm Finkelstein, as a matter of fact. You don't have to like everything that they fucking say. Okay? You just don't. Like, I don't agree with a lot of Norm's takes on identity politics or the hyper focus on it. Okay? But his work speaks for itself as it pertains to the issue of Palestinians existing under a very violent apartheid regime that occupies their existence. Radically pro continuation of the conflict with Russia is an interesting way of framing it. Yeah, I don't even have an issue with his takes. I don't even have an issue with Zizek's takes on this one as it pertains to like Ukraine, because he's not even talking about like the Ukrainian perspective. Maybe the longer interview brings in like what the interest that Ukrainians have in continuing like to continuously be under fire by Russian rockets in general. But ultimately in that snippet, I don't even disagree with what he was saying. Come on, this is dramatic even for Zizek. I've read his works. He's not as explicit in his other works. No, he absolutely is like you know, he definitely is not exactly too fond of Arabs and Muslims, okay? That's it. And I think those biases actually make your analysis worse. That's all I'm saying. You have to kill the reactionary in your brain at all times. If you don't do that, then that reactionary in your mind is going to take over and cause your analysis to be worse overall. Because reactionary thinking is cheating. Reactionary thinking is easy thinking. And everybody wants that cheat code, okay? The comfortable bosom of the warm waters of reactionary thinking. Do you understand? It's comfortable territory. Everyone wants to be in comfortable territory when they're thinking about issues, okay? Islamist fundamentalism is right-wing and fascistic. This is such a dumb take by this Twitter forever online loser. Islamist fundamentalism is right-wing and fascistic. Yeah, you're right about that. Except he's talking about Arabs. So if you, as a 32-month subscriber, immediately go, oh, Arabs the same across the board and Arabs equals Islamist fundamentalism, you're out of your fucking mind. How can you be in this community for 32 fucking months and think that like Arab equals Islamist fundamentalism? I like that I was just talking about killing the reactionary in your mind and engaging in critical thinking. And this guy basically demonstrated that he doesn't want to do that on this issue because those biases are very comfortable. Okay? I don't, though promise he speaks like an ape. What? Yeah, generalization is the tool of a toddler to understand the world. I don't even understand what the fuck he means by this. The biggest fundy populations aren't even ethnically Arab. I am 40 plus month subscriber who not only hides your taxes but promoted your own Turkism takes, and here I am still un-VIP'd. I don't even know. That's why I said he probably fumbled his words here. Might be a boomer like me, man. 2001 propaganda was really hard to shake for people that lived through the media narrative bliss about Muslim bad bullshit. Took a lot for me personally. I know, but like, come on. I get that, and I'm very understanding, but 32 months? Really? That's crazy.
And lawmakers have reached a deal to avert a partial government shutdown before Friday's deadline. President Biden now says he will sign it as soon as it reaches his desk. ABC's Jay O'Brien joins me now for more on that. Jay, what do we know about this deal? And why does it seem like we are always talking about a looming government shutdown?
Because we are always talking about a looming government shutdown. Now, Diane, if this deal is successful, we won't be talking about it anymore, at least for the remainder of this fiscal year. And so the plan is this. They settled on Department of Homeland Security funding. That was the final sticking point. Now, text of that legislation is being drafted. It's supposed to come out within the coming days, ideally today. They're playing against a tight legislative clock. Their deadline is Friday, so there might be the possibility of a brief shutdown over the weekend, but all signs point to averting a widespread government shutdown. Now, to the second part of your question, it's because...
Wait, what the fuck? Oh my God. Why'd they suspend our modern day Goebbels, bro? What happened? National commentator Elon Levy has been suspended from his post? Oh no. Wait a minute. What? Drama alert. Fuck's going on? I hope he goes back to England and gets arrested. Okay? 100p. If there was an ounce of decency in the Western world, you would literally fucking arrest these people. Okay? Across the board. Anyone that went to serve in the IDF, anyone that actually played a fundamental role in doing propaganda for the IDF, okay, should get arrested. South Africa is doing the right thing. South Africa is doing the right thing. South Africa openly fucking stated, if you went to serve in the IDF and you're South African, you're going to get arrested and you're going to be tried for crimes. First publication following a reaction tweet that caused an uproar, Elon Levy is suspended from his position. The National Explainer has been suspended from his post for a week and is doubtful that he will return to it after his tweet of a response to the British foreign minister caused a diplomatic embarrassment. A few weeks ago, Sarah Netanyahu exerted pressure to get him removed due to his past participation in a protest against the government. The National Explainer, Elon Levy, has been suspended from his post following a tweet, which he responded to a tweet by the British foreign minister, and following response, there was a diplomatic embarrassment. This is what was revealed this Tuesday. In the Central Edition, the British minister wrote, "We continue to plead with Israel to allow more trucks to enter Gaza as the fastest way to receive aid for those who need it." And he responded by saying, "There is no problem with the capacity of the trucks entering Gaza." Wait, what? He just did Hasbara too hard? What the fuck? They are picking and choosing who gets to say this. Because I've heard many, and I mean many, Western-facing Israeli propagandists say these exact same things on the government dime, okay? What? There's no way there's got to be more to it. Following this tweet, the British contacted the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to find out if this was the position of the Israeli government, and in the information system, they decided to respond with a heavy hand. Levy has been sitting at home for a week. He was suspended from his post, and it is doubtful he will return to it. In the official request for clarification, the British wrote, "As you probably know, the foreign minister discussed the humanitarian issue at length with the prime minister, the foreign minister, and Minister Dermer. These tweets surprised us, given the constructive dialogue between the countries coming from a good company and ally. We would be happy to understand if these tweets actually attack the position of the foreign minister, Cameron, and if they reflect the official position of the Israeli government." Wow, bro. That's crazy that they're cooking our boy. Piece of shit. Fuck you. Fucking monster. Oh, God. I hope every day is just as shitty, okay? Oh, God. So good. Didn't the guy from Channel 4 yesterday do the same? Yes, he did. He did. Not surprising, David Cameron made a fuss about this. He was the one who coined the open-air prison description. David Cameron, woke defender of Palestinian liberty and emancipation. The pig fucker himself. Just when you thought the Brandon Ammon couldn't get any worse on Gaza, this comes out. Was the White House knowingly putting out false intelligence to justify hospital bombings? Ooh. Oh, no. Oh, Jesus. I mean, yes, of course. It's like not even... It's not even a fucking question. Yeah, of course they were doing that, by the way. Suck my dick if you didn't believe me, okay? But, you know, we'll look at that in a second.
Congress has consistently been kicking.
Do we care about the shutdown? It's not happening. I'm skipping it, okay? Let's talk about the Supreme Court allowing Texas to enforce controversial immigration law before we get to some Israel stuff. Sadly, PBS is still doing worse. From 3 weeks ago, here's PBS NewsHour sharing the diary of an Israeli soldier involved in a genocide, presenting him as just an everyday guy. The fact that they included this clip of him talking about the smell of the dead bodies in Gaza is horrific. Shame on you. Wow. It's unsurprising. Thank you to PBS for that. All right, let's watch this one.
Now to our breaking news, the Supreme Court allowing Texas to begin enforcing its controversial immigration law.
We're joined now by Joan Biskupik. Joan, what do you make of this decision? Just yesterday, it was put on hold indefinitely. Now they're letting Texas move forward with enforcement of this law.
Yeah, Boris, when they put it on hold indefinitely last night, they were only doing it because they weren't ready to issue this order. It wasn't anything final. They just essentially bought themselves a few more hours of time. This is very, very big. It's saying that this law that allows Texas to arrest and detain people who cross the border and are suspected of entering the country illegally, for Texas to use its own law enforcement powers against them. That really flies in the face of decades and decades of federal immigration law. And the Biden administration had challenged this Texas law. It's commonly known as SB4. It was signed by Governor Abbott back in December, really taking a hard law enforcement effort against people crossing the border. The administration had said, you can't do this. Federal immigration is our concern. And the merits of this dispute are playing out in lower courts. But the question was, should this law be allowed to take effect? A lower district court judge had said no, put the court on the law on hold while the legal proceedings play out. But today, the Supreme Court ensured that that law can go forward. Now, just so you know, only 3 justices dissented here, and they were the liberal justices. Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Elena Kagan. And I'll just read briefly from their dissent, because the majority itself did not explain itself. It just, had an order that said that Texas can enforce this. 2 justices on the right did concur in that, and I'll get to that in a second, but I just want to explain what the dissenters wrote. They said, today the court invites further chaos and crisis in immigration enforcement. Texas passed a law that directly regulates the entry and removal of non-citizens and explicitly instructs its state courts to disregard ongoing federal immigration proceedings. That law upends federal state balance of power that has existed for over a century. That's what Justices Sotomayor and Jackson wrote. And then Justice Kagan wrote separately, the subject of immigration generally and the entry and removal of non-citizens particularly are matters long thought the special province of the federal government. And that's kind of the crux of the argument, even though this is playing out in such human terms at the border. This was kind of a very legal separation from the federal government from the states issue that came up to the court. And the justices, the majority at least, felt that...
What happened to give me your sick and needy? No, we haven't even... Dude, we're so far removed from that. But beyond that, this is literally an objectively racist law. Okay, you can't just like try to codify racial discrimination. Like, how do you make the assertion that someone is potentially an undocumented migrant? Because I suspect that they're not going to be asking white people to show them their papers. This will look exactly like stop and frisk, and this will look exactly like the identical legislation that failed in Arizona. I've talked about this before. This is a direct violation of the Constitution. It's kind of crazy that they're just like going along with this. And before people go like, oh, well, you could do this. It's like Papers, Please. No, it's worse. Because in Papers, Please, okay, you do that, or in Contraband Police, you do that at a fucking border checkpoint. That happens already. This is beyond that. This is literally anyone and everyone being like, oh, you're brown. Let me see your papers. Oh, well, now I'm going to hold you up. Oh, now I'm going to call the K-9 unit. Oh, now I'm going to search your car. Beginning in this moment, Texas law enforcement officers can just arrest any person in the state they believe crossed illegally, and judges can now order people to walk back into Mexico at a threat of 20 years in prison if they don't, even if the person has federal permission to be there. Crucial context. Barrett and Kavanaugh both say they are not making any decision right now because of the weird procedural posture by which it made it to the court's shadow docket, but say if the Fifth Circuit doesn't act ASAP, they may change their minds. So Barrett and Kavanaugh basically say the Fifth Circuit's gamesmanship around issuing an administrative stay is unusual, but doesn't rise to the point where she thinks they should intervene yet, but says if the Fifth Circuit doesn't rule soon, the DOJ should come back to SCOTUS. So what does this mean? Is this just not stop and frisk? It sounds like it. Basically, that's what I said. I mean, it's in some ways it's like even worse than stop and frisk, because stop and frisk doesn't like deport black people or like basically say, well, you're black, so you are getting deported. Halt and vault. Yeah. You are fucking racist? Me? Yeah, no, totally. I'm racist because I believe that at the top of the hour there's a 3-minute ad break and you're going to have to see it unless you subscribe. Yeah, it's true. I am racist towards those who are unsubscribed. Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, I know. Now, like I said, if you no longer want to see them, all you need to do... Wait, hold on. When are you? We can do an hour. Illegal migration belong to all race? Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you. You're right. I was being racist when I said this historically has only been used against brown people because it's basically giving a constitutional right, which is unconstitutional inherently, but a right to, it's basically giving a go-ahead to all law enforcement officers to just like harass brown people that they suspect of being an undocumented migrant. Okay? You're right. I should be living in Reddit world instead of the real fucking world where, you know, laws like this have passed in our recent history and have failed afterwards or gotten struck down due to their obvious unconstitutional nature. Just like stop and frisk is for all people to find guns, even though it was stopping and frisking 94% black people, even though white people and black people had guns at the same rate on them, it seems, and was objectively a failure, unless you consider it to be a law to harass random black people, in which case it was not a failure. So what does this mean? Well, this means SB 4 is in effect for now, but the case is likely going to go back to the Supreme Court on emergency poster within the next month, either because the Fifth Circuit rules officially on the stay motion or because they wait too long and don't. I agree with this point. Both Barrett and Kavanaugh basically opted out of deciding the merits, and for all we know, so did Roberts, Gorsuch, Thomas, and Alito, who gave no indication of why they ruled how they did. Regardless, the Fifth gets leeway. I would not interpret today's order as a surefire sign that 5 justices will uphold SB 4 or even allow it to remain in effect for very long. Barrett and Kavanaugh are telling the Fifth Circuit, we'll tolerate your gamesmanship this time, but you're on notice that we dislike it. Kind of crazy. The bigger point here is that, once again, this SCOTUS permits Fifth Circuit to temporarily overturn longstanding immigration law rules, even if they eventually strike down the law. They did this with Remain in Mexico in 2021 and the enforcement priorities in 2022. Don't forget how this could be used against the O-Irish as well as Up the Raw. Stands with migrants everywhere. What? Oh. I think this kind of gamesmanship is really fucking indecent, especially at a time when the Supreme Court is very worried about their vibes overall. When the Supreme Court is very worried about the way that people see them. So, you know. But yeah, we got Federalist Society in the building, baby. This is how it works. I remember growing up with hearing about the SB 1070 bill in Arizona, the racially profiled people they suspect of being an undocumented immigrant. It's insane seeing these same bills again. Yup. You are too consistent. Exactly about this yesterday, but I talked about this yesterday, but here's where we're at.
More than 4,200 unaccompanied migrant children are now in U.S. custody. Reporters not allowed to go in, but legal advocates for the children are talking. And ABC's Cecilia Vega from the southern border, she's in Texas tonight.
Well, something changed. Okay. When I talked about this back then, Democrats were like real ballsy about, you know, they love talking about like abolish ICE and shit like that. You know what I mean? Democrats were going nutty mode. Back then, they loved shitting on the Republicans and their reactionary white nativist immigration, anti-immigration policies.
Tonight, crammed inside these massive tent structures on the southern border, so many migrant children, some are forced to sleep on the floor. The Biden administration not allowing journalists in to see for themselves, but 2 lawyers who did get in spoke to some 20 kids, and they paint a disturbing picture. The unaccompanied children not supposed to be held here more than 3 days. Instead, some stay for a full week. 45 to 50 kids who made the long and dangerous journey without their parents, sharing a space like this.
That is where they would spend their entire day. They did tell us.
Yeah, 2020, what changed? Kids in cages was bad. Now it's good. I don't think you understand. Kind of nutty how much better your hair looks now. Dude, my hair still looks like that if I fucking comb it backwards. Like, the fuck?
With the crush and opening new facilities.
We have a lot of critics, but many of them are not putting forward a lot of solutions.
But for those kids inside these tents tonight, the solutions aren't coming fast enough.
What you heard in Donna sounds like it really hit you in your core.
To see very young children scared.
Pasaki bomb, baby. Yeah, but you're old now, Unc. Yeah, I know. This is 2021. Yeah, this is like right. No, I think this is 2020. Like right in the beginning when the this has to be 2021. No, dude, it's from fucking 3/16/2020. Says it right there. Oh. Actually, that doesn't make sense. Pasaki's speaking. Wait a minute. The archivist uploaded it as 2021. Yeah, the dates are off. You're right. It's 2021. You're right. What the fuck am I talking about? You were in the apartment? You were in that apartment in 2020? I was in the apartment in 2020. You're right. At that time, I was in the apartment on 3/16/2020. This is 3/16/2021. Sorry. Well, can't run for president now. Okay. But 3/16/2021 is first 100 days talking about how first 100 days of the presidency, talking about like fucking how we're going to restore sanity to the immigration process. And it's something I've covered extensively. Back then, they were definitely still pushing. They were definitely still pushing like the pro-immigration narrative and the pro-immigration sentiment.
Confused about what was going on, not being able to contact family members. It was just really a.
There is no 16th month. Okay, European spotted, opinion discarded. Objectively a better date, objectively a better way to date your dates. I don't understand it. There's no fucking 16th month, yeah? I will not fucking answer the context. Right, fucking hell. All right, anyway. In both cases, SCOTUS reviewed a Biden administration request to block enforcement of unprecedented decisions, ordering DHS to restart remain in Mexico, stripping the DHS Secretary of Authority to issue enforcement priorities, only to eventually rule in Biden's favor months later. Here, we have an even more perverse situation with SCOTUS letting an unconstitutional law go into effect temporarily based on a transparent attempt by the Fifth Circuit to avoid review. Yeah, nobody says America deserved 11-9. You know what I mean? That's like, that doesn't make any sense, dude. That don't make no goddamn sense. 11-9, bruv. Remember 11-9? Fucking hell. Remember the 11th of September, yeah? Right? Remember the 9th of November. Yeah. Is that what they think? Europeans think that 9/11 happened? That's so stupid. Europeans think 9/11 happened on November? Policy director for IMM Council, former immigration lawyer, Aaron Reichland Melnick says, or this is what his suspicion is, they want Biden to crack down harder, which is a fundamentally political kind of thing they're not allowed to have a say on. So instead, they're letting these orders go into effect for now. It's a show of power. But with this happening 3 years in a row, the implication is that the justices are using these shadow docket orders to send a message about the border and nothing more. Final note, I want to emphasize again that this is not the end of the story. The Fifth Circuit will either convert its administrative stay into a formal stay in the next few weeks, after which DOJ goes back to SCOTUS, or they won't, in which case DOJ goes back to SCOTUS. So we should expect to be back here again in a matter of weeks, and we'll find out whether or not SB4 is a short-lived law, which was only in effect for a brief period of time, or whether it gets to last for longer. Utter nightmare for anyone arrested in the next few weeks, though. Biden literally can't do anything about fucking Texas or fucking SCOTUS. Yes, he can. Yes, he can. Storm the fucking borders, okay? Send in the goddamn National Guard, send in the goddamn army, and arrest Governor Greg Abbott, that treacherous, treasonous scumbag, okay? The fuck do you mean he can't? He's the fucking president of the United States of America. What are you talking about? Yeah. All you need to do is drone strike the governor's mansion, baby. That's it. Wait, fuck. It's like saying Abe Lincoln couldn't restore the Union. Yeah. It's about enthusiasm. It's about motivation. It's about putting the energy in the right place. You understand me? Anyway. Remember, Biden as president is restricted by his office, but make sure to vote for him because Trump as president will have infinite power. Yeah. Ain't nobody's ever saying that the Republicans don't try super hard to fuck things up. Bro, Republicans are so good at fucking things up, they fuck it up while they're not in office. Okay? If there's a will, there's a way. Republicans have shown us this. Do you understand? It's ridiculous to be like, yeah, dude, I don't think you understand, brother. You don't get the institutions, okay? The institutional defenders have logged in, okay? These are our holy institutions. And it's like, oh, really? That's cool. Well, you know, the Republicans don't give a shit about that and very regularly and routinely take a dookie on those, institutions. So, kind of silly to hold on to this position. Decolonize Texas, land back, baby. Turn Texas into Oklahoma. Give it back to Mexico. My liberal my liberal Gen X coworker glazes Brandon every day and says he's harder on Israel than any American president. Is that true? And does it even matter? What? No. The fuck? No. Actually, that's a really interesting take, which leads us to this next step in the process. We're going to talk about Maureen Rabbani. You might recognize him from the debate where he dog walked Mr. Bornicello alongside Norm Finkelstein. Okay. He had a thread detailing the many times where U.S. President Joe Biden's embrace of Israel being unprecedented, even when compared to his immediate predecessor, Donald Trump. Okay. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, before we get to that, though, here is Trita Parsi summarizing the Washington Post article. Okay. He's the executive VP of Quincy Institute, saying already on October 27th, the White House knew that Israel was regularly bombing buildings without solid intelligence they were legitimate military targets. Yet Biden continued to send Israel record amounts of weapons, twice sidestepping Congress, while publicly questioning the Palestinian death toll. It took until December 12th when Biden, at a private fundraiser, admitted that Israel's bombings were indiscriminate. Here's a piece from here's a part of the piece. On November 14th, the White House decided to publicly back Israel on the matter. We have information that confirms that Hamas is using that particular hospital for command and control mode, Kirby told reporters aboard Air Force One, citing declassified intelligence. That is a war crime. Hours later, the IDF began its raid of Al-Shifa, giving them the go-ahead, drawing condemnation from the World Health Organization and human rights groups, because they are also Hamas. Okay, remember. World Hamas Organization and human rights groups, more like Hamas rights groups, am I right? The hospital, Hamas hospital's operations collapsed, resulting in the death of at least 40 patients, including 4 premature babies, according to the United Nations. United Nations, united for Hamas. Van Hollen, who received a classified briefing about the U.S. intelligence on al-Shifa, said there were important and subtle differences between what Biden officials were saying publicly and what the intelligence actually showed. As I told you, further vindication once again, because I told you back then, they're fucking making this shit up, and everyone got mad at me. I did find there to be some disconnect between the administration's public statements and classified findings, the senator said. Now, do I have some fucking, third eye or something? No, I'm simply looking at what the inconsistencies that has existed in perpetuity with what Israel says they're doing and with what they actually use as a post hoc rationalization for why they did the things that they did. The Van Hollen mentioned in this article isn't some anti-Biden radical. For the record, he's a mainstream Democratic senator from Maryland. He used to chair the DSCC. The White House absolutely did aid and abet and assist the Israeli government by presenting false narratives over and over again, including when Joseph Robinette Brandon straight up fucking said that he does not believe the Palestinian Health Ministry's numbers, even though the American State Department very much has and still does believe the Palestinian Health Ministry's numbers. But that's stuck because when you use the bully pulpit to give the go-ahead to a genocidal apartheid state, and they continue doing the fucking genocide, continue doing the ethnic cleansing, Israel's going to get the go-ahead and see that clearly Biden is on Team Israel no matter what. But not only that, but the rest of the world is also going to play along with it. The beheaded babies thing was a lie too, as Biden also openly lied day one pretty much about seeing beheaded children. Literally a lie. Where is the information there? How do we not parse through that? How do we not go back to it? How have we not re-examined that? It's kind of crazy for Biden to just like openly, objectively lie as a part of his bully pulpit, as a part of his bully pulpit powers, pretty much. And when he lies, that also gives the go-ahead to the media to also disparage the Palestinian Health Ministry's numbers. That's why everyone always says Hamas-backed Palestinian Health Ministry over and over and over and over and over again. So let's look at the many instances where President Joe Biden's embrace of Israel was unprecedented. It's certainly true that Biden has gone to extraordinary lengths to demonstrate his personal and ideological identification with Israel. I'm a Zionist, the U.S. president has repeatedly and profoundly claimed. Were there no Israel, Biden declares, like a recently indoctrinated flunky reciting the key tenets of his new cult, there's not a Jew in the world who will be safe. He also said, were there no Israel, we would make one. Imagine the uproar and incredulity if a U.S. president were to state that, were it not for the Republic of Ireland, the federal government would be unable to guarantee the safety of a single Irish American. But when it comes to Israel, the most outlandish assertions typically garner a combination of pass and praise. Biden's passionate attachment to Israel, culminating in his enthusiastic complicity in his genocidal war against the Gaza Strip and callous contempt for Palestinian life, have served to obscure what are in fact remarkable continuities in U.S. Middle East policy. Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, for example, was presented as a sharp break with 70 years of U.S. policy. More accurately, it presented the culmination of decades of changing U.S. attitudes towards Israeli rule over the Holy City. The U.S. Congress, with an overwhelming bipartisan majority in both houses, 95-3 and 374-37, had already come out in support of Israel's claims in 1995 with the Jerusalem Embassy Act, which stated that Jerusalem should be recognized as the capital of the state of Israel and effectively endorsed the Israeli claims of sovereignty over East Jerusalem by insisting that this capital be undivided. The act also called for the U.S. Embassy to Israel to be relocated from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Recognition and relocation were delayed only because the act allowed the president to sign a waiver every 6 months, suspending its implementation on national security grounds. Okay? Every single president prior to Donald Trump recognized the danger of full-blown recognition of Jerusalem being Israeli territory and going against international law. Do you understand? Before Trump said, fuck it, YOLO mode. And then Joe Brandon also went fuck it YOLO mode after Trump did that. Instead of taking a step against it, instead of trying to revert back to the norm, he continued along with it. Rather than the overhaul of U.S. policy by passing new legislation, all Trump did was to stop signing waivers and implement the bipartisan congressional legislation that had been on the books for more than 20 years. As for the embassy itself, this too was not a Trump initiative, and acquisition of the site, in fact, commenced during the 1990s, located on land expropriated from its rightful owners by the Israeli state in 1950. The heirs to this property include U.S. citizens. But as with Israel's killings of Palestinian Americans, and in sharp contrast to U.S. responses towards the infringement on the property rights of the U.S. citizens anywhere and everywhere else, in this case, the U.S. government insisted there was nothing amiss. Several years ago, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, in fact, refused to meet with Palestinian Americans holding property rights on the site to discuss their claims. So, cucked in twofold to Israeli expropriation is the very real reality that Palestinian Americans, once again, by the way, I've said this already, lowest rung of the American citizenship hierarchy, by the way, because Israel is currently killing Palestinian Americans and has killed many Palestinian Americans who are American citizens, mind you, and yet America never talks about that. Something to consider. So it's not like we care about all American citizens across the board, okay? I mean, we don't even give a shit about American citizens when they're chopped up in a fucking Saudi embassy in Istanbul by the Saudi kingdom's assassins that use bone saws and grind them. Jamal Khashoggi was literally a U.S. Permanent resident. Didn't change anything, really. Washington Post reporter, too. Similarly, when former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo embraced Israel's illegal settlements as the greatest invention since the hamburger, he was in good company. Already in 1981, Ronald Reagan had opined that they were not illegal. And since 1993 Oslo Accords, every U.S. administration has proposed diplomatic initiatives closely coordinated with Israel that would allow the latter to retain the bulk of its loot. The settlements went from illegal to not consistent with international law. By the way, this is something that I saw. Okay? And it's something that I've talked about for the past 10 years. That the official Israeli position, at least to the Western world, was always like, oh, are they doing settlements there? I can't see it. And under Benjamin Netanyahu's like 30-year fucking reign, basically, I don't know exactly how many years he's been the leader of Israel, in and out of leadership positions. Throughout that process, Israel consistently kept settler expansions, and the Israeli position, which was always in support of settler expansions, of course, went from indirectly supporting it or facilitating it in some regards to openly fucking championing the cause and very openly stating that this is our land, as a matter of fact. Judea and Samaria, there is no West Bank, there is no Palestinian nation, there is no such thing as a Palestinian person because the Palestinian state does not exist. Okay? Important to recognize. You say democracy, by the way, but the same leader for 20 years. No, it is important to recognize that it is an apartheid state. There is democracy specifically for the Israeli citizens that are inside of Israel proper and also in the West Bank, the settler terrorists as well. However, those guys did end up voting for him over and over again and voting for his coalition over and over again. So just something to consider that, like, yes, this isn't this didn't come out of nowhere. Yeah, he hasn't been the leader for 20 years, though. He had that 2-year break. Yeah, there were some breaks. Anyway, I think to say that Israel is not a real democracy, unless you're talking about its apartheid, in which case you are right. But if you're saying that like Israel is not a real democracy, you're basically abdicating the responsibility of the citizenry. You're basically closing your eyes to the realities of how fascist Israeli society became. Okay? So I think that I am not in the business of shifting the blame away from the Israeli citizens who openly are looking for this. They are salivating for this kind of expansion in many respects. At least the majority coalitions brought about were either willing to directly support it, directly fund it, directly facilitate settler expansion, which was illegal, or were quick to turn a blind eye to it because they felt like it did not harm them. Anyway, the settlements went from illegal to not consistent with international law to an obstacle to the peace process. Pompeo simply determined that they weren't necessarily inconsistent with international law, nor an obstacle to successful U.S. diplomacy. It was hardly a sea change, particularly given Washington's heroic efforts over the years to shield Israel from condemnation or consequences for its settlement policies, even though these are explicitly defined as war crimes under international law. So they are war crimes. It is terrorism. Israel is engaging in settler terrorism for many years, okay, since its inception, of course, but definitely further encroaching on Palestinian territory it illegally occupied, especially while using the guise of the supposed two-state solution under a supposed peace process to rapidly expand on that settler expansion. Remember, like in the 80s, 1988, I believe there was like 7,000 or 8,000 settlers living in West Bank proper. That number has now reached, like 500,000 over the course of a couple decades. Just think about that. Also, almost 100,000 American settlers, specifically American citizens, are settling in West Bank right now. No, I'm talking about West Bank proper. I'm not even talking about Jerusalem. With Jerusalem added into the equation, the number reaches 750,000, of course. Trump and Biden are typically perceived as polar opposites. This being the case, a comparison of their policies on those issues where Trump is said to have broken with traditional U.S. positions is instructive in assessing continuities. 1. Jerusalem. Before Trump and pursuant to UN General Assembly Resolution 181 of 1947, the Partition Resolution, which specified that Jerusalem would be governed by an international administration rather than by the proposed Arab or Jewish states. No U.S. administration had formally recognized any part of Jerusalem as Israel's capital or Israeli sovereignty over West Jerusalem. Additionally, no U.S. administration since 1967 had recognized Israel's annexation of East Jerusalem or claims over it. Trump did both. Biden has maintained his policy without a single change, something that I've brought up many times over. Biden continued the Abraham Accords, another phenomenal Trump foreign policy failure. Biden also maintained Israel's annexation of Golan Heights as permanent Israeli territory, which Trump had brought about. Biden did not revert on that. Biden did not go against that. Biden also, once again, didn't remove the U.S. embassy from Jerusalem or go back on the Jerusalem policy. U.S. embassy is a part of his policy on Jerusalem after 1948. The U.S. initially established its embassy in Tel Aviv. In 1980, UN Security Council Resolution 478, responding to Israel's illegal annexation of East Jerusalem, required all UN members states to remove diplomatic missions from the Holy City, and those few that had them complied. In 2018, the Trump administration, in direct violation of international law, relocated the U.S. embassy from Israel, Tel Aviv, to Jerusalem. The Biden administration has not only maintained this embassy, but is expanding it. Okay? The U.S. Jerusalem consulate, the U.S. consulate in East Jerusalem, responsible for relations with the Palestinians, reported directly to Washington rather than the U.S. embassy in Tel Aviv. The Trump administration closed it, moved it into the relocated U.S. embassy, and placed it under the direct authority of its ambassador to Israel. Upon assuming office in 2021, the Biden administration committed to reopening the consulate. It has not done so, and there is no indication it has any intention of doing so. Palestinian self-determination. U.S. support for an independent Palestinian state, first enunciated by George W. Bush, was declarative and never matched by concrete measures, particularly when it came to restraining Israel from policies designed to prevent it. Trump effectively removed this item from the U.S. foreign policy agenda. Although Biden and Blinken have in recent months revived talk of a Palestinian state, it's largely and correctly seen as a diversionary charade, because that is exactly what it is. It is no less a diversionary charade than constantly saying, like, Israel, cut it out, stop killing all the Palestinian babies, please, while simultaneously offering them unlimited amounts of weapons to keep killing those Palestinian babies. An exercise in smoke and mirrors to deflect attention from Israel's genocidal onslaught against the Gaza Strip and U.S. complicity in it. In December 2023, The Biden administration revealed its hand when it was one of only 4 states to vote against UN General Assembly Resolution A78479, which reaffirms the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, including the right to their independent Palestinian state. PLO mission to the U.S. in 1987. Congress overwhelmingly passed the Bipartisan Anti-Terrorism Act, which determined that the Palestine Liberation Organization is a terrorist organization and is a threat to the interests of the United States, its allies, and to international law, and should not benefit from operating in the United States. The act has never been revoked, while U.S. official policy has ever since remained that PLO is a terrorist organization. It was, in 1988, granted a presidential waiver, renewable every 6 months, to open a mission in Washington, D.C. In 2018, Trump declined to renew the waiver, ordered the closure of the PLO general delegation, and expelled his diplomats. The Biden administration has declined to reverse this initiative, and 6 years later, there is still no Palestinian diplomatic mission to the U.S. Was wondering, do you think the reason why Biden has been slow walk rebuilding the Iran nuclear deal pressure from Israel? I don't understand. For a moment there, I thought, given that they had they unfroze Iranian assets in South Korea, that I thought like they were interested in moving in that direction of denuclearization. But it does seem like that's completely dead in the water now. UNRWA. Trump administration terminated U.S. funding to UNRWA, something that I've covered extensively. The UN agency that provides for Palestinian refugees and hires Palestinians, 13,000 of them to be exact. It demanded the dissolution of the agency and essentially took the position that Palestinian refugees don't exist. Upon assuming office, the Biden administration restored U.S. funding to the agency. At the time, this was seen as such an aggressive move that Israel themselves said, you shouldn't do this, you mustn't do this, this will cause terrorism. This will present a national security risk. Like, dude, that's how far Trump went. Because he wasn't just pushing the Israeli line, he was pushing the most right-wing Israeli line. Okay? Like, he went above and beyond in dick riding Israel. Upon assuming office, the Biden administration restored U.S. funding to the agency in January 2024 in response to Israeli allegations that several UNRWA staff members participated on October 7 on the Palestinian attacks on southern Israel, and before any evidence had been provided. Mini F, really? I didn't see it. Anyway, before any evidence had been provided, they immediately stopped funding UNRWA. Is it going in and out? There's no F on my end. It might be like a server side issue. I don't know what's happening on your end, but it's fine on my end. The allegations for which no evidence or substantiation has been offered by Israel are now widely recognized as a hoax, concocted by Israel to undermine the agency, divert from its difficulties at the International Court of Justice, and facilitate its siege on the Gaza Strip. Fun fact there. Israel's brazen fabrications have already embarrassed a number of Western governments that have followed Washington's lead into resuming their contributions to UNRWA. But as with Biden's claims that he viewed images that don't exist of beheaded Israeli infants, Washington is widely expected to maintain its support of Israel's discredited allegations and permanently sever its funding of UNRWA. Golan Heights, talked about that already. Western Sahara in 2020, the Trump administration recognized Morocco's illegal annexation and claim of sovereignty over the Western Sahara and reward the Moroccan state for normalizing relations with Israel. In 2021, the Biden administration announced that it would not reverse this recognition. In 2017, Trump obviously cooked the Iran denuclearization agreement. Biden declined to resume compliance with the JCPOA. Instead, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Okay, this is not just the United States. This is like multiple international, like this is an international deal, an international peacemaking, compliance standard that was put forward by the Barack Obama administration and one of their signature foreign policy accomplishments. Instead of demanding concessions from Tehran on issues that were not addressed by the JCPOA as the price for the fulfillment of U.S. obligations under the original framework, the Iranians predictably demurred, and the agreement has, for all its intents and purposes, collapsed. The list goes on, but the above should give a clear idea of U.S. policy where continuity generally reigns supreme. What may initially appear as sudden breaks more often than not turn out to be the culmination of years, if not decades, of change. The only deviation that I have with this statement from Moeen Rabbani, who I do think is brilliant, much more intelligent than myself on this issue, but the only thing that I don't completely agree with is that, and I think he even demonstrates it in this thread, is that Trump did actually deviate from the norm, because although there was bipartisan support for things of this nature, Israel's continued expansion, ultimately, Trump did take advantage of the lack of, bro, please stop fucking asking for money in the chat. Don't do that. It's ridiculous. Like, what the fuck's going on? Come on. Like, you're literally revealing your identity, self-doxing. It's nuts. Anyway. Okay. Cuz was trying to hold some lunch money. I respect it. I think Rabbani's point is that the weaker positions previous held by U.S. are that they were always a farce. I agree with what he's saying. That, like, it was held together with, like, ticker tape, right? It was like a patchwork solution to, like, basically prevent the dam from breaking. However, there's a reason why every single administration continued holding it together before Trump decided to remove the tape altogether and let the dam break. Do you get it? That tape removal, like the very existence of, U.S. foreign policy in the direction of, like, allowing Israel to do whatever the fuck it wants, and only being held together by, like, 6-month waivers, is already fucked up. Yes, and it spells that the U.S. is unconditionally in support of Israel. That much we knew already, because they keep providing cover for Israel as well throughout this entire process. Political cover, which is part of the reason why so many, like, older Zionists will always fucking say things like, oh, the UN hates Israel, they're Jew haters. Like, that's not a new concept. As a matter of fact, a lot of what Israel has been saying that many people are hearing for the first time is not exactly first-time statements. They've been saying this for a very long time, as a matter of fact. Down to the fact, like maybe some of the most reactionary people would say UN is Hamas maybe 10 years ago. But everyone there are plenty of people have consistently claimed that, like, international humanitarian organizations have been anti-Semitic with their hyper focus on Israel over and over again. Hold on one second. Oh, fuck. The real reason Israel stormed the Al-Shifa hospital yet again, from Mondo Weiss. And we also have this, why anti-war opposition minority are considered traitors. Talk about this too. Oh, I like this one too.
This is not the...
Is Joe Biden's re-election in trouble? In the past 2 days, a number of things happened that seemingly had nothing to do with each other. At 2 a.m. on Monday, the Israeli army stormed Al-Shifa hospital, entering with tanks and heavy gunfire and killing and injuring dozens. It was the fourth invasion of Al-Shifa since October, resulting in the arrest of over 80 people. The day before, 13 aid trucks arrived in northern Gaza for the first time in 4 months without being turned back by the Israeli army or resulting in the massacre of starving Palestinian aid seekers. People flocking to UNRWA warehouse in Jabalia refugee camp to receive aid stood in uncharacteristically orderly lines and patiently waited for the handouts of flour, rice, and other foodstuffs. Many could be seen cheering once the aid arrived, a scene captured by Al Jazeera's coverage. But what few people know is that the successful delivery of sorely needed food aid to northern Gaza is what led the Israeli army to launch its deadly raid on Al-Shifa hospital the next day. The connection between those two events can only be explained by understanding who Israel was targeting in the raid. This is exactly what I said yesterday Jesus Christ. Faik Mabhouh. The reason why Palestinians were, I guess, in an orderly fashion receiving aid, I assumed at the time, was because the police force was actually maintaining an orderly fashion in receiving the humanitarian aid, because you need a police force to do that when the population is starving. Otherwise, they will swarm it. So they were handling the distribution. Mabhouh was the director of operations in the Gaza police force, a part of the Gaza government civilian administration. Unlike Hamas's military wing, the Qassam brigades, Mabhouh did not operate clandestinely at the start of the war because he didn't have to. He was in charge of civil law enforcement. Hamas released a statement after his death confirming that he engaged in a purely civil and humanitarian activity. So this is a thing that Israel does all the fucking time. They'll kill people or they'll show guns inside of hospitals and be like, see, Hamas is here, when in fact, those hospitals have to have security, okay? And in every single one of those circumstances, usually that security is conducted by a civil affairs police force. They have you might have seen the likes of now former Israeli Hasbara operative Ilan Levy point to pictures of the Palestinian Interior Security Force, the civil police division, to claim that they are Hamas time and time again, only to be corrected time and time again. Okay? Those guys are wearing the blue and white camouflage uniforms. Okay? Those guys are specifically, now former. Ilan Levy was, I guess, suspended as of today from his position. Okay? Yet to hear the Israeli military spokesperson and the Israeli media, Israel has launched a precise operation on Al-Shifa to target a top Hamas operative or a senior Hamas commander who the army has alleged was planning attacks on Israel. Making such brazen claims without evidence to justify attacking hospitals or shelters has been a hallmark of the Israeli army's conduct, as you guys know. But basically, remember I told you this yesterday when I found out that this dude was like the police guy. Okay? You're a bit older there, Azan. Your wrinkles starting to show from all the brain rot. What? Take a week off, dumb fuck. Part of the reason why there's always chaos at the humanitarian aid convoys, the limited amount that are allowed into Gaza, is because there is usually no one to facilitate in the distribution. Okay? Israel wants there to be disorder at the aid lines because Israel doesn't want Palestinians to receive aid in an orderly manner. Because Israel wants to kill as many Palestinians as possible, cause as much chaos as possible, because it is a terrorist entity. Okay? So when there is some level of order in the aid lines caused by the interior security, the civil police force there, okay? Well, you want to fuck that up. So how do you fuck that up? You kill the fucking head of the police. This was my suspicion yesterday as well, as soon as I found out that the dude that they actually executed was the director of operations of the Gaza police force. Now, for the next couple of days, if this becomes a larger news story, Israel will consistently say, well, his brother was Hamas, so he must be Hamas, yada, yada, yada. They will keep saying that he is a top level Palestinian Hamas operative. Because anyone and everyone that is brown enough will be considered Hamas. And if they're not actually considered Hamas, because it's like objectively not correct, so correct that they you can tell that the guy's like a doctor or something, then they'll just fucking move on because they're killing so many goddamn people anyway. It's the exact same thing as Trump killing Soleimani and going, ISIS is getting out of control. What the fuck's going on here? We got to nuke them. Exactly. Acting like Qasem Soleimani wasn't an ISIS killer himself, but instead was a part of some kind of broader ISIS coalition. In other words, the attack on Al-Shifa was an assassination operation aimed at breaking down civil order in northern Gaza. It aimed to facilitate Israel's genocidal project and pave the way for total control over the area without resistance. I agree with this. So, yeah. While you may think that the Flower Massacre or rather that like the chaos that ensues in the humanitarian aid convoys has nothing to do with Israel raiding Al-Shifa and killing a top police officer. Okay. Those two things are definitely connected. Because Israel does not want... Oh, shit. I think Don Lemon is going to come on the stream, potentially. He refused to be kidnapped by the Israeli occupying force and engaged them with a service weapon and killed one of their special forces and injured others. A true hero. They wanted to use him for propaganda. I did watch the Don Lemon interview yesterday.
The U.S. has taken a tougher line with Israel over its war to destroy Hamas. President Biden spoke with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by phone yesterday for the first time in weeks. The White House says Biden told him not to invade the southern Gaza city of Rafah without a plan to protect civilians. Chris Livesay is in Israel. Chris, stern words from the president. Good morning.
Good morning, Nate. Yeah, the Secretary of State Antony Blinken says he will be back in the region this week. This as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Biden are finally speaking to each other again as the humanitarian crisis in Gaza worsens.
An awkward silence finally broken after more than a month between President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. That includes sending a team to Washington to discuss an alternative for a ground invasion of Rafah, Hamas's last stronghold, and where more than 1 million civilians are seeking shelter.
The president told the prime minister again today that we share the goal of defeating Hamas, but we just believe you need a coherent and sustainable strategy to make that happen.
As virtually half the population of Gaza is now officially starving, according to the world body that declares famine, scenes like these of hungry Palestinians gathering for flour have strained the White House's patience. Patience is also running out for the families of the hostages, like Itai Chen. Last week, Israel confirmed the Israeli American was killed in the October 7 massacre, but Hamas is still holding his body as a bargaining chip. For 5 months, his father, Ruby, has carried an hourglass, now empty. The sand leaked out the day he learned his son was dead.
Even today, after 164 days, he's still a hostage. So our journey is not over yet.
So how do you get them?
By the way, this is a practice Israel does as well, for the record. You know, the holding the bodies of the Palestinians that they kill
back. The price that the government of Israel is paying is not for the 134 hostages. It's for the colossal...
Wasn't this segment about aid to Gaza? Yeah, but you can't fucking just talk about like Palestinians dying. You have to also mention that like they kind of deserve it, or at least try to massage the narrative to be like, here are some random Palestinian children literally on the verge of death due to man-made famine caused by the occupying force, and now here is the militant resistance against said occupying force doing something that is abhorrent. Make no mention of Israel doing the exact same thing, and basically you arrive at the conclusion that like maybe it's not fucking so bad that they're being starved. You know what I mean?
Disaster, mistake of October 7th.
Are the actions of this government jeopardizing the fate of the hostages?
I am sure that the Prime Minister wishes to get all the hostages back as well. Let us not forget who is the bad guy here. Hamas, ISIS, is a terrorist organization.
Last week, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer stunned
Hamas, ISIS.
Israel when he called for new elections.
Yeah, dude. I mean... Yeah, he definitely cares about the Palestinian. He definitely cares about the Israeli hostages. He definitely does. That's why he keeps murking them. He's just actually ending their life so that they're no longer in captivity. You know what I mean? With bombs, and also with directly shooting them sometimes because they weren't sufficiently Israeli looking. They look too much like a civilian. A Palestinian civilian, of course. Definitely. Yeah. Killing my own hostages to own Hamas. Yeah. There's a mercy killing.
Here. The father of that Israeli-American hostage who was killed said, just considering how much Schumer loves this country, that should be a wake-up call. Gail?
Yeah, we could feel that father's pain. Thank you very much, Chris Lipsey, reporting from Israel.
I'm joined by two guests who have memorably locked horns.
Oh my God, another fucking another Shmuley Jank fuckfest. I don't know if I have the heart for this chat.
Her whole reputation on that last week. Listen, stop your ad hominems. I want to ask one question, Pierce.
Rabbi, let him speak.
I have one question. Pierce,
he
why
won't
he answer
shut
the question?
up.
This is a catastrophe.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. I'm never coming on with him again.
Come on, Cenk.
Yeah, I can't do this, dude. I can't do this. I'm skipping this. No. Rabbi Shmuley frustrates me to no end, okay? I also can't even like look at his face. Like he's so fucking ugly. It's like insane. You'd think like he'd try to make up for it with like having a decent personality, but he's just a ghoul both inside and out. Like Jesus fucking Lord. How does that dude even get on these broadcasts? He's so disgusting and Nazi coded. What do you mean? They love that shit. It's content, dude. It's content for Piers. Piers, I'm a respectable Orthodox Jew. I implore you, stop inviting Shmuley. Thanks. Why are we still bringing Shmuley on? Unwatchable debate. This is the kind of debate where the only true losers is the audience. Sickening. Laughing about sex toys while justifying genocide. I used to support Israel until I heard Shmuley. He's the perfect guy to turn you to support Palestine. He's utterly disgusting. I'm still astonished about how the fuck does Piers Morgan get the fantastic idea to get a rabbi and his daughter to talk about the sex shop campaign in the middle of a serious discussion about plausible current genocide as described by the International Court of Justice. No man of God would condone the killing of people and behave in an uncivilized manner. The rabbi is possessed. Pierce, do you condemn Hamas? Shmuley, do you condemn Erdogan? Is that psycho really a rabbi? If so, how do you become one? And is there any way of taking the title off him? Like this guy wants to convert to Judaism, become a rabbi because he thinks there's like a Highlander style process. Shmuley's the second biggest contributor to anti-Semitism, only next to the IDF. How could you not hate this guy? Pierce is engaging in reverse psychology propaganda, getting the most far-right motherfuckers and getting people to turn to the other side. To be honest, I've said this already. You're not going to find a lot of people who are like relatively reasonable or interested in coming across as relatively reasonable. Okay? Watch 3338, please. Really? It's not fun for me. Oh my God, he brought his daughter on?
Specifically meant to be used between couples to enhance the sexual experience, to make it more exciting, to make sex more pleasurable, last longer. And she called me, my dad, and these products filth. One word to millions of people, filth. So, well, I forgot the question. What did you ask?
Well, no, you answered the question. That's obviously one of your biggest selling lines. But Rabbi Shmuley...
Just making sure I'm asking the question. I don't want to get... Yeah.
Rabbi Shmuley, just fine. I mean, do you think...
Okay, now I'm now on board. I think Piers is doing like... Piers is doing reverse Hasbara. Okay? He's doing reverse Hasbara. He must be. Because honestly, there's no fucking way that in the midst of a conversation about an ongoing genocide, he's like literally bringing on the whole family to fucking talk about sex toys. Like there's no fucking, like, no matter how woke you are, okay? And many people are not woke when it comes to sex. Let's be for fucking real. But like, no matter how woke you are on the issue of like sexual open-mindedness and you know, experimenting and whatnot, you are not going to think this is a good time to fucking sell dildos, okay? Rabbi approved kosher dildos. That is insane.
What are your biggest selling product lines?
Can I leave now?
Well, getting into the biggest selling product. Well, Candace actually, I mean, it's funny. She supports and defends Andrew Tate, who just got arrested again for sex trafficking. But she called these oils that I just came out with, these beautiful arousal lubricants that are made in Israel in the Holy Land, that are specifically meant to be used between couples to enhance the sexual experience, to make it more exciting, to make sex more pleasurable.
No, that's fucking insane. Stop.
Damn, this guy's good.